welcome everyone. So I'm here with Jake with Brightway, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
All right, I'm Jake Ferry with Brightway Insurance. Been in the insurance industry for well, I'd say about 7 years now altogether. I'm a property and casualty, I'd say probably about maybe 3 years or so. But before that, I was in the retirement industry and 403Bs, IRAs, things like that, try and help people with their retirement. I'm a big people person, love to help people, so that's what really kind of got me into that. I worked at a deaf and blind school for a number of years too, almost 5 years there. So I spent a lot of time with kids there. But I really just kind of found my passion, I think, in the insurance industry. So here I
Oh,
am.
very cool. That's kind of how that would start with the questions as far as like how did you get into the home insurance business and things of that sort. So was there easy like was there one point that you can point at to be all like this is where it kind of diverged from all the other?
Not really. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I know I wanted to help people. I know I'm a go-getter. I've had the drive, the determination, the motivation. So my previous job, I didn't feel like I was, appreciated as much. Kind of felt like the scum under somebody's shoe, if you will, and I didn't like that. So I was looking for a change. I've known these agency owners here for a really long time, and they begged me to come on board. And I drug my feet, and then finally said yes. And it was the best decision I've ever made. And they treat me very, very well. So.
Awesome, very cool. So can you briefly describe, and I know briefly because there's so many different options, but can you kind of briefly describe the different types of home insurance coverages that are available?
Yeah, so there's basic homeowners insurance that's on an HO3 form, and then there might be what you call a renter's form or a dwelling policy that would be on a DP3 form. So it's basically if you're a property owner and you own property, but there's a tenant in there, whether it's your friend or family or somebody you don't know, then that would be on a separate form. And homeowners would be on a standard homeowners HO3 form, but that's the basic two. And then you can really start breaking down in all the coverages and stuff like that. The dwelling coverage, well, what's that based on? It's based on the property appraiser's website. It's based on the RCE, the replacement cost estimator that each carrier has. So we arrive at the numbers at different ways. And usually a big one is personal property coverage. A lot of people may have the wrong type of policy if they have a rental home or something like that. Maybe people don't think any of that's their personal property, but if you think about the stove, the fridge, the microwave, dishwasher, all that's personal property. You might have some decorations or something like that. Maybe it's not furnished, maybe it is, but that's something to think about as well. So those are the main two differences there.
Right. Yeah. To piggyback on that, it's definitely something that people in Florida, not only do we have our regular homes, we also have vacation homes because everyone wants to come
Absolutely.
here, and you don't
Absolutely.
always think about all those other little nuts and bolts that
Absolutely.
as
Yeah.
far as
So
that
that's a
goes.
great point to a
Yeah.
secondary home as well, for sure.
Awesome. And so, how do you determine the coverage needs for individual clients? Like, what are some of the gears that you work with?
I would say we really try and get to know the client as best we can. Do they have money? Do they not? Do they want a higher deductible? Do they not? Are they looking for the cheapest price out there just to save a buck or two? We don't really care about the strip down coverages. Some people are more involved with the coverages. They want to pay a little extra for maybe better customer service or more coverage, things like that. So we really try and get to know the client, know what their needs are, what their wants are, and see how we can, find a carrier and a premium that fits the mold for that. So it's a lot of work, but it's really just getting to know the person at the end of the day.
Okay, awesome. So, would you describe kind of just in general? I'm sure you've seen all kinds of different scenarios and situations. Maybe give a good description of something where you had to navigate a difficult claim or something that
Yeah, the
situation.
the claims are getting hard to come by these days.
Mhm.
A lot of carriers are limiting the claims that they'll accept. The water claims are a big one,
Mhm.
big no-no. They're hard to get by. I just got one approved. It was a $672 water claim for some carpet. And just be honest, if you are filing a $672 claim, you need to pay out of pocket for that. Don't file the claim. The
Mm.
claim's going to be on your record for 5 years,
Okay.
and then you're also going to owe your deductible. So he filed a $672 claim. He had $1,000 all other perils deductible. So he actually basically owed money for that.
Yeah.
So they did pay out on it, but he still owed a little bit on the deductible. So it's kind of a catch-22 though. But yeah, I would say water claims are very hard to get by. Fire claims. We just had one. The guy had a fire in his home last July, caused $230,000 of damage, and he ended up getting renewed by the company, and
Okay.
his premium didn't go up very much, so that was a good deal. But lately we've seen a lot of water claims and things like that. Litigation liability claims, that's a big no-no. You're not going to find a
Right.
standard carrier that'll accept you if you have a lawsuit or litigation or paid out liability, something like that. Very, very hard to get around
Right.
for sure.
Awesome. And so that kind of leads into another question because you kind of lead it to that as far as it goes. How do you keep up to date with some of the industry changes and in the industry policy? I know a lot of
Yeah.
our clients are worried about roofs and things now,
Right.
trying to get things covered
It's
and things
true.
like that.
It's
Yeah. So,
true. Yeah. I mean, we try and I read the news. I get Google alerts every
mhm,
day for insurance specifically, but we try and just do our due diligence as an agent to do the best we can to learn about the insurance industry and then present it to the clients as best we can. So, with that being said, we have a lot of territory representatives that come by from each carrier. They kind of tell us the updates, whether it's once a month or once a week or however the updates go. But sometimes it's more often than not. But they usually will allow us to, send a spreadsheet, or they'll tell us, hey, the roof age just went from 15 years to 10 years, or we no longer take water claims of any kind,
right.
so things like that. We will get directly from the carrier themselves. And
Mhm.
then other, legislative things like that we might get from Google or the news or something like that. But it's a lot to keep up with.
Yeah, I'm
It really
sure.
is. I mean, the roof age was never a thing years ago. Water heater age was never a thing years ago. Now, if the roof's over 15 years old, or the water heater's got to be replaced, or the carrier won't go with you. So you're really reducing and limiting your options that you have to go with when you're starting to get up there in the roof age or the water heater age or things like that. So um, it sucks. I know. I just got a brand new roof last year on my home, and they rated it for 30 or 50 years, right? But now we're at the
Right.
mercy of what the insurance carriers will accept. So
Exactly.
it's a dirty game. It's a catch-22. But what are you gonna do? You gotta abide by it, or not have
Absolutely.
insurance at all. So
Yeah.
if you don't have a lender.
Never want
No, no.
that.
Most of us are not that blessed, I
Right.
guess. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So, so how do you work with clients to ensure that they have adequate coverage for their particular needs? Like, what goes into that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say a lot of times, more often than not, people are underinsured. And like I mentioned earlier, we use the property appraiser's website. Just a general number, I would say we like to be around $200 a square foot for the home. So we would multiply the square footage times $200 a square foot, and that would give you a rough calculation for your dwelling coverage. If it's on the coast or the beach, I would maybe increase that a little bit, but those are the main tools we use would be the property appraiser's website, the RCE calculator for each carrier, the replacement cost, and then to try and beat around that $200 a square foot mark. So sometimes if the person's been with that carrier a long time, they might be really underinsured. If
Mm.
they've been with, you know, some other carrier out there for the last 5 or 6 years and they've just renewed it, and the market and the economy and lumber and materials go up, then they could be severely underinsured. And we try not to have people underinsured nor overinsured. We want them to be comfortable with the coverages,
Right.
but at the same time, most people don't realize that if you're gonna have a really high dwelling coverage, let's say the home is cost 350,000 to rebuild, and they have their dwelling coverage at 425,000. Well, if they rebuild their home, they're not going to get the excess change, and that's a big
Right. Yeah.
misconception. People, oh, I want all the coverage, bump it up, bump it up. Well, if something
Right.
happens, you're not going to get paid out on that.
Right.
They're just going to pay out what it costs to rebuild that home. So there's a lot of big misconceptions out there, but that's how we mainly try and help people arrive at the correct, proper numbers to insure them properly. So.
And so, speaking of that, where someone thinks something's going to happen, and then of course it doesn't.
Right.
How do you handle those customer complaints on their coverage and concerns that they may have with their policies?
Well, we try and hear them out. From an insurance standpoint, we try and just tell them, the way it is. Really, we don't want to sugarcoat things. We don't want to beat around the bush. We want to be very direct. But at the same time, we're not really supposed to talk about claims or how to handle claims or how to process claims. But we will talk to a client about, maybe you should file it, maybe you shouldn't. But most people don't realize, even if you were just to call and inquire about the claim process of how to do it, or what would I need to do, and how would it work, and how long would it take, just asking those general questions, they would open up a claim right then on the spot. They would close it out with a zero payout, and then you would have a claim on your record with a zero payout for 5 years
Oh
just because
wow.
you called and inquired about the claim.
Okay.
So claims are a tricky situation. I
Yeah.
would never say, go ahead and file it, but if you can help it, I would be hesitant to file a claim unless it's a really big damage or something like that. But if it's $1,500, you got $1,000 deductible, they're going to pay out $500. Is it really worth it? Then you got the claim on your record, and your insurance goes up, and you're
Right.
limited with the carriers you can go with. So it's a whole
Right. Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But and that's what insurance is for, right?
Mhm.
If you have damages, to file the claim and get paid out on it. So it's again, it's a dirty game. It's unfortunate. I'm not sure why I love it so much, but
Right.
but that's how we would help our clients out. Just try and guide them down the path and the avenue, and give them the options and the knowledge, and then they can make that decision on their own.
Definitely. And that's definitely something that people may not know, as far as like just even calling, asking can open doors that
Absolutely,
they're not even aware of.
absolutely, for
Even if
sure.
it's all like, this has never happened and I've never, a situation, but if it were to happen, now they have to open up their claim.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Very
that's
valid point that just wanted to
right.
get across, and hopefully, people can learn from that for sure.
Right.
Others have made mistakes there, but we all live and learn, right?
Right. So, so that, again, that kind of flows. We're going great with the whole conversation here, as far as like,
Good deal.
things that you may not know, that you're completely, to use the best word, ignorant of. There's nothing wrong with
Absolutely.
being ignorant until you know better. What would you advice would you give to someone who's purchasing home insurance for the very first time? Like, what are some of the questions they should ask? What are the things they should be looking for?
Yeah, I would recommend get involved with it, get in
Mm,
depth with it. A lot of people are too busy, or don't have the time, or they're working on the moving truck, and they're working on the states and schooling for their kids and things like that. Insurance is kind of a last resort. They just tell the realtor or somebody, go find it for me, and get it done and send it to the lender and let me close. So I would just say dig into that policy a little bit, make sure it's replacement costs and not ACV or actual cash value, a depreciated value. So you want full replacement costs for your belongings, the home itself. That would be a big deal. But just to look at it, make sure the deductibles are what you want. I'm not saying you got to dive down to the nitty gritty, but just at least briefly peruse it, look over it,
right.
look at the coverages, look at the deductibles. Maybe there's a big special package on there for jewelry, watches, and furs and guns that you don't have, that you could remove and reduce your costs. So
Okay.
it pays to just take a look at it, look it over. But I would say, for a first-time home buyer, definitely get with somebody who knows what they're doing. If you have a great realtor, then they know what they're doing. They have an insurance contact. They can kind of, again, navigate the path for you, help you out
Right.
with certain decisions and things like that. So it's a lot, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming,
Right.
for a first-time home buyer. So, but it
So,
is important. It is very important. And one of the biggest things that I was never told when I was a first-time home buyer is, when I got my insurance and we went through closing and my mortgage payment was $1,000 a month, I thought it would never change. Most people, why would it change? They don't know. They don't think that. But come to find out, if your insurance doubles or triples because your roof is older, then
mhm.
your mortgage is going to go up each month. So you're paying more in the escrow. So that's another tip and trick I would say is, it really depends on the home you buy. I would say buy a newer home than an older home,
Mhm.
personally, from an insurance standpoint. That would be a big tip for me as well. But yeah, I just think if they spend the time and put in the time and the knowledge, you'll get out of it what you put into it, for sure.
Definitely appreciate having the right team, having the right to help you with those questions and things like that. I have an
Absolutely.
experience where, the first house that I bought, we were very adamant we wanted to be nowhere near flood zone, even though pretty much all the floors are flood zone. It's just what
That's true.
degree.
That's true.
Um, and everything was great, and we had a huge storm, and FEMA came down and went down our street and then whoop around our house. And so
Wow.
when we first bought the house, we were not in a flood zone. Then we become in a flood zone, and
Wow.
so our insurance just completely changed, and of
Gotcha.
course made our mortgage change. So it's something that, again,
Absolutely.
didn't know about, didn't
Absolutely.
think about, didn't plan for.
It's true.
Luckily, it was not as extreme as it could have
Yeah.
been, where I actually flooded. We just changed as far
Yeah.
as the coverage.
That's
So
a big point too, is the flood zones.
mm,
I just did one the other day. I was down in Fort Myers, but it
mm,
was a brand new construction home in flood zone AE. The two private carriers were between $60,000 and $70,000, no joke, for 1 year,
okay,
and FEMA was $4,300 for that home,
okay,
just for 1 year for flood coverage on a brand new construction home.
wow,
So I would maybe think twice about a flood zone too, if you're going to be buying and purchasing in a special high hazard flood
mhm,
zone. That's going to cost you a lot of money down the road.
right, absolutely. And then, so another part of this show is to kind of like network and also point out different things for locals and get information. So
Sure.
one of the things that I'm starting to ask everyone is like, what is your favorite local spot for a great meal? Like, where are you going like Saturday night?
Yeah, well, I have two kids, so I don't really
Oh,
go
okay.
out very much anymore. But I live in St. Augustine. There's a lot of great restaurants down there, great history. They're constantly changing, constantly closing, opening new ones. I'm a big fan of Mexican. I love Mexican. One of my all-time favorites is in Ponte Vedra. It's mezcal. They're fantastic. I had a very bad experience with salsa, so I haven't been back there since. But I would
Right.
say Italian is probably my all-time favorite. So I
Okay.
love like Papi's Italiano right here on 210, or in Ponte Vedra is great. Down in St. Augustine, there's the Chianti Room.
Okay.
That's probably one of my favorites too. And then there was
Excellent.
one called Bistro 206 where my wife worked at, but they actually had a fire,
Okay.
no insurance.
Oh.
Now it's closed and not reopened. So
Ah,
that was
yeah.
my favorite by
Yeah.
far, but now that they're not even open anymore. So get insurance, folks.
Right. Exactly. So we're getting towards the end. Where can people find you? What are social medias, your websites? What's
Absolutely.
the best way?
Absolutely. So I am usually in the office here on 210 in Brightway. I am here in the Remax Connects office twice a week. I do have a Facebook. I'm usually on it every day, but I don't post things like I should. Our corporate office does post Brightway posts that I try and repost and things like that. I am on Instagram as well, but I need to get a business account and we have a
Right.
Google business account, but they don't manage it. And I've been trying to take over that.
Right.
It's one thing when I went to Tampa with the group here, it was all about the search engine optimization and all the social media.
Yes.
And I'm on Instagram a lot, but I don't post things, so I never knew about all the videos and all this technology and the screen
Right. Yeah.
behind you, and you can scroll it and all this.
Right.
That blew me away.
Yeah.
So I'm working on getting more involved with the business side of social media. But I am out there. You can definitely find me, or feel free to email me, text me, call me anytime. I'm happy and available to answer any questions anybody would have.
I feel you with that. I feel like social media sometimes is a job in and of itself.
It is,
It's a
yeah,
full
it
40
is.
hours.
That's what we were talking about with the other realtors. Trying to make a video to promote us or Remax or the coffee shop, and
Right.
well, that's when do we have time to do that? We all have different families and lives and things, so it's tricky to get everybody together to make it happen. But I'm happy to be here today, so this is great. I appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Definitely. And I'll definitely include the links in our show notes as far as like where people can find you and kind of click on that. So,
All right, cool deal.
all right. And other than that, it's been great chatting with you.
Absolutely, you
And
too.
go out
Thank you.
and say hello to Jake. So,
All right, yes, please.
good day.